Clash at the Castle is a premium live event name that many wrestling fans hold near and dear to our hearts. Because not only was the original Clash at the Castle in Wales all the way back in 2002 an objectively fantastic show with memorable matches like Gunther versus Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, but it was also the first WWE premium live event that was booked from head to toe all by Triple H. You could actually say that Clash at the Castle marked the real start of the Paul Levesque era. So it's not a surprise that wrestling fans around the world are incredibly excited for Clash at the Castle in Scotland. So in today's video, we're gonna try and predict the Clash at the Castle Scotland card. I'm actually gonna book more matches than we're probably going to get at this show just to try and throw some ideas out there. Because these B-tier premium live events have usually only had between 4 to 5 matches, but I'm actually gonna give you 8 that might make sense. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident that you're gonna fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. First, let's start off with the super obvious ones, like the one that has already been announced, that being the World Championship match between champion Damian Priest taking on the hometown hero in Drew McIntyre. And if you want to be technical about things, this is a very rare heel versus heel matchup. But even though it is a heel versus heel matchup, it's still likely going to have the traditional dynamic of heel versus babyface because Drew McIntyre is going to be the biggest babyface on the planet for that night. This is going to be such a hostile crowd for Damian Priest that I really am curious as to how he's going to react to the hostility that he's going to face during his entrance and throughout the entire match. Drew McIntyre on Twitter already compared Damian Priest walking into Glasgow Clash at the Castle like John Cena walking into ECW's One Night Stand back in 2006 when everyone fucking hated Cena. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a similar reaction for Damian Priest. But not only is this a match that's been properly announced, but it is a match that just objectively makes sense because it is weird that Drew McIntyre never properly got another chance at the World Heavyweight Championship after losing it to Damian Priest at WrestleMania after Damian cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase. Typically, when somebody cashes in on somebody, it leads to a larger feud, and it took a while, but we finally got here. And that's because Drew McIntyre has been busy with CM Punk, which is definitely going to be the match that headlines this summer. And it's the fact that CM Punk is looming is the reason why I think that Drew McIntyre is not going to win this. Not that this is a predictions video, but I'm sure we'll predict the show when we're actually closer to the date. But I am 1000% certain that CM Punk is going to screw over Drew McIntyre again, helping set up Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at a much bigger show like SummerSlam. I just hope that we don't get some shitty singing rendition between Drew McIntyre and some sort of athlete from that area like he did with Tyson Fury at the end of Clash at the Castle. But I'm looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be good. I think the lead up to the match is going to be fantastic, and I do think that this is the make or break feud for Damian Priest, who a lot of people don't really see as a strong, legitimate champion. This is the feud that can make him into that strong, legitimate champion. Another match that I think is pretty obvious and we're probably gonna get to see at Clash at the Castle will be a match for the WWE Women's Championship between the champion Bayley and another Scottish gal in Piper Niven. So the WWE has actually done a really good job of building up Piper Niven, not just in the lead up to Clash at the Castle, but in weeks prior. Piper Niven actually looked incredibly dominant during the World Championship Battle Royal match for the vacant championship that Rhea Ripley left behind. Ever since that night, they've been making Piper Niven feel like a true legitimate contender in the women's division. I know that a lot of the spotlight and a lot of the limelight has been going to Chelsea Green, and understandably so, she deserves all of that limelight, but I am happy to see that Piper Niven is now being treated like the true monster that she is. And not only is she a monster, but she's got that little heel weaselly Chelsea Green that could help her cheat in matches and help her politic her way to getting big matches. And I don't think that I'm some sort of Nostradamus for predicting this match. We also saw Piper Niven completely destroy Bayley in the SmackDown right before King and Queen of the Ring, a position that we were in because of the smarts of Chelsea Green, who coerced Bayley into giving her a match, which allowed Piper Niven to jump in after the match to destroy Bayley. So this combination of Piper Niven and Chelsea Green now is no longer this one-sided affair where all of the limelight was going to Chelsea Green. Now we're seeing some pretty great synergy between these two where they're both providing value to one another. It's going to be a really interesting crowd to see how they react to both of these women, because this is obviously going to be a crowd that's going to be very pro Piper Niven, who's going to be going in as the heel. However, the European crowds, the UK crowds, they love Bayley as well, like a lot. I dare say that that is where Bayley is the most popular. You've heard her songs. Hey Bayley, hoo ha, I wanna know, will you be my girl? So don't be surprised if over the next couple of weeks Piper Niven wins some sort of #1 contendership match, or she just continues to beat down everyone in the women's division, including Bayley, until Nick Aldis gives her this opportunity. One of the reasons why Clash at the Castle 2022 in Wales is so fondly remembered is because of Gunther versus Sheamus. And WWE, whether it was intentional or not, has put themselves in a position where they could very easily plug in Gunther to a match here at Clash at the Castle, that being the rematch between Gunther and Randy Orton, whether it's for bragging rights or for the actual championship opportunity at SummerSlam. I'm not sure what you want to do there. But you can't have Clash at the Castle in Scotland without the guy that made Clash at the Castle such a memorable affair in Gunther, and you gotta have Randy Orton on a big show like this as well. I know it's still in its early days, but the WWE has actually done a pretty decent job of maintaining the brand split, so matches from somebody from Raw versus somebody from SmackDown at a premium live event do kind of feel extra special. Not that this matchup needs any extra garnish or love. It's freaking Gunther versus Randy Orton. They already put on a classic at King and Queen of the Ring, and I'm sure that they would put on an even better match at Clash at the Castle now that they truly know how to work with each other and get the best out of one another. This would also be a nice homecoming for an NXT UK alum in Gunther, and NXT UK was a big deal in Scotland before the pandemic. Really, the only question that's looming, like I've already alluded to, is what is this match for? Are they really going to make it for the King of the Ring again? Is it just for bragging rights? I'm not sure, but I don't really need that much stakes to get excited over this particular match. I would honestly be kind of surprised if Clash at the Castle features a match from both sets of Women's World Championships. So far at both King and Queen of the Ring and Backlash, we've only had one or the other of the women's titles being defended, so I see that continuing as a trend. But in the event that they do want to run with another women's title match, I think there is a great opportunity to be able to do so based on the pieces that are currently at play. We could have the current brand new Women's World Champion Liv Morgan taking on somebody from that kind of neck of the woods in Lyra Valkyria. With the show being in Scotland, I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people from Ireland that will make the trek, because it's not that far from them. At the very least, when you compare it to, like, you know, the United States. I'm just saying, if I'm Irish and WWE is putting on a big show, you know, not that far away, I'm probably gonna go there, and so are probably a lot of Irish people. You could probably plug and play and change Lyra Valkyria for Becky Lynch if you want that bigger name, but clearly the WWE is not afraid to put Lyra Valkyria in these major spots, as they just had her in the final of the Women's Queen of the Ring. On top of that, Becky Lynch has already announced that she's gonna activate her rematch clause, which I didn't know that WWE superstars still had rematch clauses, because they seem to be very pick and choosy over who gets a rematch clause or not. But it seems like Becky Lynch is going to be enacting that rematch clause on Raw as opposed to Clash at the Castle. And in the lead up to King and Queen of the Ring, Lyra Valkyria and Liv Morgan have been just hating each other, going after each other's throats. So if you really do want to tell the wider WWE universe that Lyra Valkyria is here to stay, that she is a main eventer, then I think that she could be a really nice first defense for Liv Morgan. With Liv Morgan's championship reign being so new, she needs to get these victories under her belt for it to feel like a really special championship reign when Rhea Ripley comes back. Now, I do want to harken back once again to Clash at the Castle in 2022. Not only was it memorable because of Gunther and Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, it's also memorable because that's the birth of Dirty Dominic Mysterio. If you remember, that's where Dominic Mysterio turned on his dad and Edge to become dirty. So I wouldn't be surprised if at this show we see Dominic Mysterio poke his head again, whether it's intentional or unintentional, once again helping Liv Morgan win. One of the nice things about the women's tag titles being held by such megastars like Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill is that it's really easy to make any simple excuse to get them on a major show, because it's two major stars, one of them, Bianca Belair, being one of your biggest, most marketable stars in the entire company. I'm really liking them as tag team champions champions. They're really starting to grow on me, and their matches continue to get better and better. So with the women's tag championships already being featured on Backlash, getting featured at King and Queen of the Ring, don't be surprised if they're featured once again here in Scotland, because there is a Scottish tag team that is waiting in the wings, ready to go after the women's tag titles, that being the unholy union of Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn. Now, for this to even take shape, we're gonna need the women's tag champions Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill to make appearances on Monday Night Raw, and they've stated that the women's tag champions do fluctuate between shows. But then we will also need the unholy union of Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn to actually make appearances on Monday Night Raw. However, I have been watching WWE main events so that you don't have to, and I'm happy to tell you that Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn have been on there pretty much every single week, cooking and winning week after week after week, almost as if they're getting them ready for appearances on Monday Night Raw. There is a problem with this match that you kind of by default make Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn the baby faces of this match, because the Scottish crowd is definitely gonna get behind them. However, just because I think that they would be the crowd favorites, I don't think that they would be the favorites to actually win this. I think that they would be in this match purely to get the crowd excited. And overall, I think that getting a really hot crowd for a women's tag title match overall really helps increase the overall value of the women's tag titles as well. So if I was making this decision, to me, this one's actually a no-brainer, but we need to get the wheels moving on this to make sure that Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre feel like legitimate contenders. We did also see the women's tag titles on the pre-show at King and Queen of the Ring. If you want to warm up the crowd, this might actually be the perfect warm-up for the crowd, because you're giving them one of their home country gals. So between the combination of having a Scottish women's tag team and the fact that you have two incredibly popular individual women holding women's tag team gold, I think it's too perfect. I think you got to feature them on the show. One of the weird things that I've noticed after WrestleMania is the lack of involvement from the men's tag team titles on premium live events, which is objectively weird considering we have now two separate sets of titles on Raw and on SmackDown. You'd think that by now one of them would have made it on one of these big shows, but that hasn't been the case. However, I do think that we have been presented with the perfect tag team match and the perfect opportunity to finally showcase men's tag team wrestling on a premium live event. I'm going to go with the Raw side of things, the champions R-Truth and The Miz, who would be defending against graduates of NXT UK, beloved people from the UK, and Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, the New Catch Republic. We're clearly seeing on Monday Night Raw that we are going down this path in some way, shape, or form. And if you were to connect the dots, I wouldn't be surprised if you were to think that this would happen on just a future episode of Monday Night Raw. Because at the very least, at first glance, that's how they've been treating the tag titles as of late. They haven't had feuds on Raw or SmackDown that are good enough to lead into a premium live event match. But they've already been planting the seeds of the New Catch Republic versus Team Awesome Truth, and like I've already mentioned, this would be a great homecoming of two NXT UK alumni in Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Something that I'm noticing with a lot of these matches where I'm using a lot of hometown bait to be able to get these crowd reactions is that it could lead to awkwardness in terms of who people are supposed to cheer for. Because just like Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre's heel versus heel, this would also be a weird dynamic because it's babyface versus babyface, but one set of babyfaces is very likely to get the majority of the positive crowd reaction, that being the New Catch Republic. If you want to continue to do callbacks to Clash at the Castle, then I think that you can get a really nice callback if you actually book Solo Sikoa to have an important match here. In case you forgot, Solo Sikoa made his main roster debut by helping Roman Reigns retain at the previous Clash at the Castle in 2022 in Wales. And now that we have this OJ Simpson / The Weeknd version of Solo Sikoa that truly does feel like he could be a main eventer, I think that you should feature him on the show as a nice full circle moment for his career on the main roster. And if you're gonna have him have a one-on-one match at a premium live event, which I believe is actually the first one since his match against John Cena at Crown Jewel, I think you should have him have a match against somebody that he has a blood feud with, somebody that he's been technically feuding with for years at this point, somebody who has a storyline directly right beside him right now in Kevin Owens. We saw Kevin Owens come back from injury after being beaten down by the Bloodline to help Randy Orton, so you've got your setup right there. This really doesn't need a heck of a lot more story building. If not this match, then I could see this being some sort of six-man tag match or another tag match involving Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa as well, but right now I don't know who I would put on the corner of Kevin Owens if Randy Orton is already busy with Gunther. And last but not least, Cody Rhodes is a fighting champion. I think that they're probably going to have him defend the title in every single premium live event of this year. But I gotta be honest with you, I've got zero idea as to what direction they might end up going with Cody Rhodes. Maybe he ends up being a tag partner for Kevin Owens for this match, potential match at least, against the Bloodline. But if we're gonna have Cody Rhodes defend the title because he says that he's gonna be a fighting champion, then now we need to come up with a difficult task of coming up as to who's gonna take on him. I doubt that it's gonna be a rematch against Logan Paul. I think that that was a one-off. I don't think that it's gonna be against AJ Styles. So when I look at the landscape of people that are on Friday Night SmackDown, I think that the best solution is to go with somebody that's going to give Cody Rhodes a fantastic match while also helping elevate that person in their inevitable loss because Cody Rhodes is not going to lose. I was thinking you could go with like a youngster. Maybe you could go with a Carmelo Hayes. Maybe you could go with a returning Baron Corbin. But I'm actually thinking maybe doing another babyface versus babyface, Cody Rhodes, and tell me this wouldn't fucking slap, versus Andrade. Andrade's been doing his vignettes that he's coming to SmackDown, and it's very clear that he's probably going to immediately feud with Santos Escobar, but look, this might just be fantasy booking because we have no clear direction for Cody Rhodes at Clash of the Castle, but I don't hate this. Maybe it is a number one contendership match against Santos Escobar, allowing Andrade to still have his feud with Santos Escobar while helping him immediately elevate to main event status on Friday Night SmackDown with a feud, a short feud, babyface feud based on respect against Cody Rhodes. Both of these guys come from family lineages of professional wrestling. They're both professional wrestling royalty, just from different countries and from different types of professional wrestling. This definitely wouldn't be a match where I'd be looking for some sort of like super heated blood feud. I would just be looking for a really awesome exhibition match pretty much. This one I'm probably reaching, but I do think that the other ones that I've talked about on here do make sense. That's actually a question I'm gonna pose to you because I know that that was a reach. Who would you have Cody Rhodes face off against at Clash of the Castle? Because I don't think it's that clear cut. Let me know. But folks, thanks so much for watching. That's it. I'm done. Get out of here.